This speech is supposed to be a farewell speech, but I don't feel the need to say goodbye. Instead of saying goodbye, I'd rather leave a message for those to remember. Goodbyes are forgettable, while a message stays with you forever. I want to leave a message as someone who is a part of a minority group that will bring a better understanding to the transgender community. Something that shows people what it's like to be trans, my experience medically transitioning, what can happen when someone allows their discomfort and anger to dictate their actions towards the transgender community, and what the future could look like if more people made an effort to understand and respect the transgender community. To most people, being transgender is seen as a choice. Being trans is not a choice. The reason why people are transgender is because of how their brain is made up. With people who are biologically female, like me, your brain was made male while your body was made female, and this is the opposite way around for those who were born male and transition to being female, also known as male to female transgender. Due to the brain being made up the opposite of the body, this causes dysphoria. Dysphoria is the disconnect between the brain and body for transgender people. It is also known as the deciding factor for when people are going to move to medically transitioning. I fully believe that you need dysphoria to be transgender, and I wish more people understood this. I also believe that people should take the time to learn why people are this way. It isn't because we are out to get them or are looking to make them upset. I think that I speak for the community when I say that if I could have had my brain made up like my biological body, I 100% would have taken that chance. I wouldn't have had to transition medically like I have been for the past 3 years. September 22nd, 2017. I was a month into my sophomore year of high school, and I became the first to medically transition at Oxford. Throughout my journey up to now, I experienced many changes physically and mentally. In the beginning, my voice and temper were the quickest things to change. With my voice, it dropped to base level by being 6 months into my transition. Regarding temper, testosterone makes people more aggressive. This is the same for transgender males and cisgender males. Cisgender is the biological gender you were born as, and if you identify with that, then that's what cisgender is. The next big changes I started to notice that still go on today are changes to my facial and body structure. The fat that would normally go to my hips started moving to my sides to give me a more male shape. The skin on my face became more coarse, and the bone structure slowly started changing to a more masculine structure. Up to now in my transition, I have slowly started gaining facial hair. That has also slowly been getting darker. Facial hair only grows on trans guys if it's in their genetics, and it can take over 5 years to grow in fully. There are also things that we can't change, and this is why we get surgeries. However, sometimes bad things happen before we get surgeries. One thing I will never forget my sophomore year was the day I was sexually assaulted in the history hallway. I remember having the best day. I filmed with my friends for our TV and video class, made some really good food in my foods class, and I was just having so many laughs, enjoying the day, spending so much time with my friends throughout the day. And as I walked to lunch, it happened. I immediately reported it to an administrator, and I was talked down to by them. They talked to me like I was lying about what happened, and I immediately felt the pain and the defeat that women felt when they tell authorities that they've been assaulted, and then they get turned away. It felt like they were treating me like a girl, honestly. This, of course, made me upset, but I still powered through and gave them the time and what camera to look at. This event was a huge setback for me, and it caused my dysphoria to get worse. Almost nobody at the school knows that this has happened to me, except for family, a few close friends, and the teachers that I've personally told, which now one of them is you. I felt like this was something that needed to be said, that was needed to be said, because not many trans people are very open about things that they experience, and I really wasn't planning on telling anybody about this situation, but the fact that this happens to people who are transgender, it needs to be put out there so that people can understand the hardships that we also go through, because it's not just normal people who go through hardships, it's also many people in many different minorities, not just the transgender community, but also just the LGBT community as a whole, people of color, women, all of that. Now, people always wonder what the next steps into gaining acceptance is, and what I'm going to tell you is what I believe should be happening right now. People shouldn't be afraid of what others identify as. Everyone should accept individuals as they are, and if they don't understand something, then you should research and educate yourself on the topic. Many people don't think to research into why someone could be the way that they are. They just think, oh, well, it's different than me, so I don't agree with it. But if you really think about it, me being trans doesn't affect anybody else's life but my own and my family's, because we have to cope and adjust to me coming out. Being trans is also not the only thing about me, and many people don't seem to realize that me being trans is not my whole personality. I personally think that being trans or being gay, those aren't personality traits. It just happens to be who you're attracted to or what you identify as for your gender. And it doesn't define me. What defines me is my interests, my hobbies. I love to cook, I play video games, and I participate with choral ensemble and chorus at my school. I absolutely love music, I love to sing. I would rather be known by my personality than my gender identity. Overall, changing a whole group of people's views on something they disagree with is obviously a very hard thing to do. However, I fully believe that society would be so much better if we could show the medical side behind transgender people and how it's not just a choice. We can educate what being transgender is and what dysphoria is, talk about our own personal experiences, the horrors that come with being trans, and how much greater society would be if we were all just accepting of each other. Instead of stereotyping someone based off of one label, we should be learning about them as a person and researching anything that we don't understand, rather than just jumping to conclusions and assuming things about that person, which causes conflicts. We should just be accepting of who people are